So there's the part in Scripture where it says, as above, so below, as within, so without, it's done unto you as you believe, all of those little things. And on the fifth Sunday of the month, we have the opportunity to change the program around a little bit and do a healing celebration. And the healing, it's not fixing stuff that's wrong, although sometimes it has the opportunity to look that way, because we start out with something that we don't want and we create something that we do want instead. But the healing is not fixing the experience or the situation, the circumstance around us. Healing is the revealing of the truth that was always there. If we're seeing a disturbance and what we want to have is an experience of harmony, instead what we're doing is we're allowing the disturbance to go away to reveal the harmony that's already there, instead of forcing harmony upon a discordant situation. The reason we talk so much about belief, as above, so below, that means that our highest self is creating that experience in our physical world. As within, so without. What we're going to see around us is the same thing that's within us. As we like to say around here, you can tell what's in your belief system. There is a perfect diagram, in fact, of what's in your belief system, and it's called the world around you. Your life is a 3D printed map of your belief system. Well, on the one hand, that sucks. Because that means that all of the stuff that's going on in the world, in my life, that I don't like is because of me. And a lot of people stop there and they say, oh, it's about fault and blame and judgment. And that's not true. What it means is that whatever it is that I've created, I can see what it is, and I am always free to choose something different and to create something different. Healing is the revealing of the truth, that all of that good is available to me. Healing is the revealing of that wholeness, that there's one power and presence that shares itself in a lot of different ways. I am one of those ways. Each one of us is one of those ways, and we're free to choose. And it works in all areas of our life. And have a chance in a couple of minutes to talk about what might be coming up for you that you'd really love to change. Because sometimes when we get into an experience, that 3D map really looks bad. Very annoying, uncomfortable. It's got relationship problems and health challenges and financial difficulties and work problems and idiot bosses and traffic. And all of that stuff can show up to remind us of the separation, that I'm not experiencing that wholeness, that there is a possibility of love unfolding in every moment and I'm not getting it. So a few weeks ago, which was the week after 4th of July weekend, we were talking about the stuff that's going on in the country and in the world about the violence and the attacks. Specifically, we were talking about on that particular Sunday, it was about the two black men who had been killed by the police, and then the 5 police officers that were killed by the black man in different cities and different situations. And we sat here and we agreed that that's not the world we want to live in. That's not the truth of who we are. And we started to set an intention of what it is that we're bringing to that to allow that change to come into the world. And the decision, or the guidance there, wasn't even a decision, was that what we needed to do, the invitation for us, is to know that the world we live in is better than that. That we're choosing something better, we're choosing something higher, we're choosing something that is more uplifting for each of us personally and for everybody who's involved. And during the meditation, then, what came to me is my position of privilege. Being a middle-aged, middle-class white man, I can have a conversation about race with anybody. I can have a conversation about race with people of color. But I can also bring that conversation into the rooms that they can't get into, where it's just the people of privilege who are having that conversation. So what I opened myself up to was my willingness to be an emissary, my willingness to just to be that conduit, however that's going to show up. And over the weekend, we were invited to a teen event. James and I Went to this teen event over at the Center of Peace. And on Friday evening, found ourselves in a room, 30 people, and I was the white man. And I brought that up. And it was already the topic of conversation, but I said, I want to be able to listen. I want to be able to be present. I want to hear what you have to say, not so that I can make you feel better about it now, so that I can carry the message, so that I can help be the change that's going to happen. Now, I had no idea that was going to happen in 2 weeks. I had no idea that was going to come around that quickly, and how the changes come around that quickly. I'm starting to see the same thing in the world around us. There's like the whole fear of Muslims and radical Islamic terrorists, which apparently is one word. And there's some really awful stuff that's been going on in the world. Last week, some nut job went into a church in France and murdered a priest. For whatever reason, he did that. And it increased the division. It increased the separation. And all I could do was take it and go into prayer and know that there's something better available. There's some new possibility. There's something different that can happen, because that's not the world that I live in. That's certainly not the world I want to live in. That's not the world of my choice. As within, so without. So I went within and said, somehow, some way, there's something good that's coming from this. I don't know if you've heard the news today, but in France, all over France today, there were lots of Muslims who went to Catholic churches to be present and to support them. Not because they want to be Catholic, not because they're going to give up their faith, but because being connected to the people was more important than the differences between them. That's how it happens. That's how it changes. If I were trying to orchestrate that and say, these people need to go there, and those people have to do that, and that's the way it's going to work because I have it figured out, never work. You kidding? I'm lucky when I can find my socks. You can't put together a plan like that. But that's how we, by setting an intention, are inviting something new into experience. And this works in every area of our lives. This works in my personal life, in the relationships that I'm having, in the work that I'm doing, in the experiences of health and my physical body. It works in the areas of career. Max is right on the cusp with his belief system. And he's ready for it. He's still languaging, all I've got to do is this next step. That next step, that's done. This is paperwork. Okay? We got our eye on the destination, and that's what you're going to do. And now you have to figure out how you can embody that highest and best, most fabulous SEPTA employee. Because people have stories about the ones who are not good. What we want them to do is say, you want the idea of a perfect set. Here's what we're looking. This is what we're looking for. Okay? Follow through. About seeing who you are and what you're bringing to it. And then it's not like the universe is giving you a gift. The universe is giving you an opportunity. There's this way is now opened up where we can step up and step in and experience that good in a new way and bring something good to it, possibly in a new way. 5 areas that it all fits into: health, wealth, love, work, and spirit. I'll go into a little more detail. Health is any physical body, physical experience. And that goes from something that's going on in our bodies with our health and wellness or vitality. That hip pain that I sometimes get, boo-boos, illnesses, cancer, whatever. What is that experience, physical experience that we're looking for? Wealth is everything about our finances. Wealthy is not having tons and tons of money. There are people with tons and tons of money who are unhappy. There are people with tons and tons of money, and unfortunately what they need is another ton. Because without that other ton of money, the rest of their stuff is going to fall apart. Wealth is about having plenty, about having sufficiency and adequacy to whatever it is that's at hand, and not having our attention distracted by, I can't do it because of the money. I can't do it because I'm experiencing scarcity or lack. It's about being in that flow of abundant prosperity, of having plenty that's coming to us and it's coming through us. And by the way, coming through us. People who get their good in and they just hoard it, they're stopping things up. You need to let it continue to circulate. Interestingly, the more you give, the more you get. There's some stuff in Scripture about that too. I'm not going to go into it. That's a whole other talk. In fact, we've done it a few times. Third one is love. That's all of our relationships. That's everything from our beloved, our significant other, that relationship that we have either been so long seeking, or so delighted to have, or so inviting into our lives. Or it can be with family, or it can be with coworkers, or it can be with people who we're just passing on the street. There is the opportunity when engaging with anyone else to have it be an experience of love, of connection. You don't believe me? Here's a great experiment to try. When you're walking down the street, or in any situation, just catch somebody in the eye. Don't need to exchange words at all. Just look at them and know that they are a divine and perfect expression of God's love. Say that in your mind yourself. You are a divine and perfect expression of God's love. It may or may not change them. It will certainly change you. And that's a little tiny example of what we can do for more of an experience of love. We've also seen relationships turn around completely. We've seen people who have been lonely and looking for a relationship for years and years and years suddenly find the perfect somebody. We've got great stories. Not going to tell a whole bunch of those now either. Fourth one is creativity, which is our work in the world. So sometimes that looks like our job, sometimes it looks like our hobby, sometimes it looks like our passion and what we're spending time volunteering for. Whatever it is, we're able to bring ourselves into an experience and share and connect and create something. Whether it's a business or a nonprofit organization or a song or a painting or a beautiful dinner or just an environment, a space where people can meet and connect with each other. Whatever that happens to be, whatever that creative spark is, there's the opportunity to invite a new experience, creativity. And the last one is spirit. There's stories about Jesus wandering through the desert and being up on the mountain for 40 days trying to connect with spirit. Well, the truth is we're all always connected with spirit, but sometimes we forget. Sometimes we're not feeling it. So spirit isn't about being more spiritual, since we are already as spiritual as we are ever going to be, which is 100%. But that spirit part is about feeling it, about remembering, about being able to connect. As I know for myself, I have done meditations where I've sat on the purple pillow in silence for 20 minutes, except it's not really silent because the voice in my head is going about 900 miles an hour, and it's giving me every opinion, every memory, every thought, every projection, every fear, every plan. I have a to-do list that's rolling out like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Being read to me in multiple voices. You've heard that one, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. When we're doing a prayer for our spirituality, the prayer is for an experience of our spiritual connectedness. So we can pray for anything. You can pray for anything. We have an opportunity in a few minutes where we're going to light candles, where we're going to set an intention for what you want to create that's new in your life. It can be in any of those areas. It could be in an area that you think is not one of those. And we can talk about it a little bit beforehand and figure out which one it is. Or maybe you've got a sixth category, which would be way cool. I have to change the book. I'm okay with that. The way that it starts, in the simplest terms, is we see something in the world around us. We see something that's going on in our life that we're not happy with. That's the indicator. That's the telltale. That's the gauge that the level's getting low, or we want something different. We can see what it is that we don't like, and then it's about turning from that thing that I don't like to this thing that I do like. So, if you'd like, just take a deep breath. Breathe it out. Relax and open a little bit. To be guided to an understanding of what it is that you'd like to be creating in your life that's next. What's an intention that you'd like to be setting? Or an experience that you'd like to be changing? Or something new that you'd like to be having in your life? And just be open and allow. another deep breath, and you can open your eyes and bring your attention back into the room. And I'd like to set this as a safe space to get everybody's agreement that whatever gets said in this room is the topic that belongs to the person who's saying it. We get to be present and support them and pour love into them, but when we leave the room, we're not going to go tell them their story because it's their story. Now, if I have some epiphany and I want to tell everybody about it, it's my epiphany, so I can talk about that. But I'm not going to talk about Sean's epiphany because that's his business. Is there anybody who disagrees with that, doesn't feel like you're able to maintain the safety and sanctity of the space? Cool. So what's coming up? Anybody like to share? You can just do it from wherever it is that you're sitting, and we can talk about creating something new. Mark.
I think I've been finding myself quite a bit consumed about some of the things that might not be perfect in my relationship with my significant other. And so the focus has been so much on me. What am I not getting here? What am I lacking? How's that person falling short? And so very, very quickly completely engulfed in the selfish thinking. What am I not getting out of this? And losing focus of all the qualities. And and then that swaps over in all sorts of other areas. So when I'm not happy there, when I have selfish thinking there, that everything, it seems like my whole environment, my focus is of selfish nature. And I'm terribly disturbed about that. I think that's why I made a point to come here this morning, just to kind of get out of my head and seek a better way.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that's and it's a great example because that's not uncommon. And for me, the metaphor there, because you have needs in your relationship in your life, there's the stuff that you're looking for to fill you up. And you can be completely filled and you can feel a little bit drained. But when that fuel tank is getting near empty, then all you're thinking about is not running out of fuel. You're thinking about keeping the engine going and having enough fuel to keep it going. And that's, when you think of it that way, it's completely natural and normal to get selfish in those situations. It's like, this is now a survival thing. The completely counterintuitive thing to do in a situation like that is to realize I now am in a relationship where this person has the ability to fill up my fuel tank and they're not doing it. And I can complain about it, I can bitch about it, I can blame them for it, or I might be able to just look for what it is that is there something that I could do that would make them want to fill up my fuel tank? And a lot of times, it's really easy. My friend Max has this great description of these two people who are in love, and for whatever reason, this one has needs, and they're not meeting each other's needs. And they agree, my needs aren't being met, we need to meet each other's needs. You go first. Are you willing to take that step, that completely unreasonable step, to give more even though it doesn't feel like you have it? To bring that love, to bring that joy, to bring that openness, to fill up the tank, even if it's not yours, if it's your significant other's, just a little bit. And then be open to having your own tank filled. It is so counterintuitive to do that. I have needs. I have stuff going on that's not getting fulfilled. I want somebody to pay attention to me, and they're not. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pay attention to them. I'm going to give them a back rub, make them dinner, and bring them a gift, whatever their language of love happens to be. Yeah, that's priming the pump, though. And what happens is when we turn ourselves from the problem, that's like the dark part of the room, to the solution, the light comes on so blindingly quickly that it can be just a wonderful experience. And I don't want to trivialize what's going on for you, because it is very real. And when we light a candle, what I want you to do is light the candle for bringing everything to the relationship that you can, and that you get everything from the relationship that you're desiring. Both. Thank you. Thank you. Who else? Jane.
So one of the things that I feel like I'm really struggling with lately is just where I'm going next in this next part of my life. And I think what brought that on for me is, Max is going to be 21 in a couple of months, and getting the job that he wants. And my daughter, pretty sure she's going to go out. She's chosen a school in California, and so I have one more year left with her. And it's sort of like, maybe it's just this mother, like, what happens? Like, okay, so Max goes out and he gets the job he wants. He's a man now, and my daughter's off at college. It's like, where's my role as mother is different. And then I want to go out and do so much just for me, kind of like, okay, this is my next part of my life. This is like, I'm still always going to be the mom, but it's like, but there's other things now because they're off doing their own things. So it's like, oh my gosh, where does that leave me now? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm 51. I've got to reinvent the whole wheel. So my mind is like, so it's very much consuming me lately. Because I knew the day would come, but it always felt like, oh, that was when they were 5 and 7. Oh, that was when they were 9 and 11.
Yeah, that was way off in the distance.
Like, I got
don't
really
worry
long
about
way to
that.
go, and now it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's here, it's happening.
Yeah.
So that's my focus now. It's like, okay, that's where I think the practical prayer comes in, and just faith that the next part of the path is going to be revealed perfectly. But I know I have my share of work to do to meet it somewhere. So.
Can you come bring me Wendy's in the middle of the night when I'm on the bus?
There's that lady on the corner of 37th. It's Mom with Wendy's.
Yeah.
Waiting for the bus to come by. I hear you. And as a relatively new empty nester, with my youngest is 24, and after some ups and downs is now living within walking distance of my house because her mom is very good at arranging things. But they're also talking about both of them moving to distant parts of the country. So it's not quite as real as, she's moving to California. Honor that. Honor the fact that you have been in mommy mode for 22 years. Because even before Max was born, you were thinking about it, and you've been focused on being a mom for all of that time. Well, you can't necessarily shift gears instantaneously. So it's an evolutionary process. So as you go through that, oh, and by the way, any empty nesters here who would be willing to share later on? I know that Jean has been an empty nester since a couple, Dave. And
What?
It's brutal.
No.
It's hard.
Reverend Dave wants to be an empty nester.
Brand new.
Empty nester.
Empty nest.
Empty nester. Kids have moved out.
Empty nest. Kids left.
Yeah.
Empty nester.
So I would say that the invitation is not one of creating something new, but of allowing. Because you still have all of the gifts that you've had. And, based on, everything I know about you, you're very creative. And when given some extra time and space, you will be able to create something new and wonderful. It's not going to be the same context as the new and wonderful was before. So the thing to take into the prayer and the meditation is the awareness, that guidance of what's mine to do? What are my gifts? What is it that I have to share? Because a lot of times when we're in a program for 22 years, the stuff that we're doing, the gifts that we're sharing, they're so automatic. That's a decision I made 20 years ago. I'm just continuing to do that. Then I realize, wait a second, that's really cool. That's awesome that I'm somebody who can bring that to the situation. So part of it is doing something new, and part of it is the awareness that what you've already been doing has real value to it, and that you have the ability to change and morph and adjust that. If you have a passion for waking up early in the morning and making peanut butter sandwiches for kids who are going to school, there's a way that you can continue to do that even after your kid isn't needing them. If you're ready to give that up and do something different, you can use that time for something else.
Good point.
So, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Guys, I'm a little emotional, but I've been living in a situation between my daughter and my husband for like 9 years now. When we got married, she was like 6 years old, but at some point in time, he decided, or they, when she became a rebellious adolescent, there was a really bad, and it hasn't gotten any better. Now she's 20, she'll be 21 in a couple of weeks. And, the business that we're in, we run a community center and we do all this outreach and we do low-income housing and I'm constantly around people, helping, pouring out for healing and help. And I got this nonsense going on in my own house. And to the point now where it's really starting to physically take its toll. And so they both say they love me, I'm in the middle, we hate each other, and the words and the violence is just, and they're both very needy. And my daughter, I think my daughter suffers from terrible depression. She's tried to commit suicide twice.
Oh my.
And he hates her. He says, he's supposed to be a man of God and all this other kind of great stuff. We're out there every day saving the world and whales, and he's talking about people and how they need to live their perfect will and purpose on this earth, and it's spiritual and wonderful, and there's this hatred that's just...
Yeah. The minister's paradox, or the healer's paradox. It's like, yeah, I'm great at giving other people advice, but like, what's going on in my life? First of all, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with both of them. This is editorial, this is my personal experience. Being a stepfather to a stepdaughter is possibly the most thankless job in the world. I met my stepdaughter when she was 7. I was the disposable parent. She could hate her mom, but she still needed her because that was mom. And she could hate her dad, but she still needed him because he was dad. But she could hate me, and there's no guardrails. There's no limits on that one, because like, find another one of you. Not that it's true. Just that it sets up that possibility of that resentment and that anger to start. Because, I mean, they've been together since she was 6.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who went first. At this point, it doesn't make any difference where it started, but it's been building and building and building and building and building. And I can say this about the 7-year-old who's now 39. What has happened is she's now said that she said some wonderful things about how I parented her and all the other things. The part that's really cool for me is when I hear her giving people advice that I originally gave her. Because no matter how much she hated me or was going, she was listening. That's not going on now. She's 20, she's in the middle of it. She's still got all of the anger going. So the candle for you, perhaps, and when we get to it, light 3. Light 1 for you, 1 for her, and 1 for him. Knowing that somehow the love that's in all of them, each individually and all of them together, is rearranging and reforming itself. That there's an openness and an allowing. That instead of taking these puzzle pieces that are not fitting together, that are mashing up against one another and causing great pain and distress, are going to shift and fit together. How's that going to happen? None of your business. Past your pay grade. The invitation is that they do. Thank you very much for sharing that. And Reverend Davis is going to explain the process for us.
So we're going to perform a little ceremony. And in and of itself, lighting candles has no significance. It has no power. It's not magic. It's not going to change the world, and it's not going to change your life. But what does have significance is how we set our intentions. Because the power of our intentional thought so outweighs the power of our random thinking that just focusing it for a little bit of time and then continuing to focus it every now and then changes the tendency of our thinking, and we begin to experience that we're desiring. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and we're going to meditate a little more deeply on this as it goes forward, what I'm going to ask you to do is take a few moments and set one or more intentions that you wish to experience. And the way that we set an intention is not necessarily to review the situation that we are not appreciating that requires a new intention. Right? It starts by taking the situation or condition in which you would like to experience something different and actually envisioning what you do want to be experiencing. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and it can be for yourself. It can be for someone you know closely or love. It can be for our political leaders, please. It can be for our world or any place in our world. And as you get a clarity of an intention and can bring the idea into what you would like to see happening. For me, at the moment, it's political dialogue, held in a civil and productive manner for the greater good of all. And as you come to an intention, I invite you to come up to the table here. Take a small candle to symbolize your intention. Light it off the healing candle. And carefully place it in one of the receiving.